43.
42. 41.
40.
39.
Number 1.
39.
38.
37.
36.
35.
34.
33. 32.
31.
30. 29.
28.
27.
26.
25.
24.
23.
21.
20.
19.
18.
17. 16.
15.
14.
13.
12.
11.
10.
9. 8.
7. 6. 5.
4.
3.5.
3.
2.
1.
Hey, Rocky, you want to see me pull a show out of my hat? Nothing up my sleeve. Presto. All right. Hey, we're not going to have an intro tonight because apparently I didn't download it. I could play Ashley Groggs. I have that downloaded, but I don't have an intro. But you don't want to see that anyway. We have Nathan Roberts coming on tonight, and he's the evil twin brother of Nick Roberts, or maybe it's the other way around. I don't know. But what's very unique about our guest tonight is he is a Republican and his twin brother is a Democrat. So I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit. But he's got a little program going here, that a project going here. It concerns immigration and how we do that and that type of stuff. So, we're going to talk about that. But hey, let's talk about some things. This is the last show of 2025. I cannot believe it. We're coming up really on our 5th year anniversary. 5 years the Mouthwash show's been going on. We're on 255 or 3 or whatever. I think 258 or actually 260 would be the official count. Sort of lost track as we've gone along. But I just want to say thanks for watching the show, and thanks for our viewers and our audience. We generally have a pretty good turnout and in the chat. So if you are in the chat, you have a question for Nathan, you can go ahead and say that. So we have Tiffany. We have Tiffany tonight. She's on time and did her homework and knows about the subject. It's awesome. It's the last show of the year. She wants to make a good impression going into 2026. Lucy is got 10 kids and they need her attention tonight. And as you know, Brad is on his way to New York to go see the Fish concert. I believe it's at Madison Square Gardens. I would like to do a live with him, but I think he's driving, so he could do that. But we have Steve Whitmer. He's held over from his show, Witty Reviews, and he has been with this Nick Shirey finding all this fraud and whatnot. He's been digging deeper into some of the stuff we have here in Indiana and Indianapolis. And I'm telling you what, now there's a lot of spending going on, and he wants to know where it's going. So you catch his show at 8:00. So one thing, if you are on TikTok, follow me. I'm starting to do this church pew review show. I'm going to be in Florida for the next couple months. So we're going to go to different churches, and I'm going to do a review of this church. That's why I call it church pew review. I'm sitting in the pew reviewing the church. So it's like Dave Portnoy's pizza review. My scale is 1 to 100. And then I'll go through the categories of why a church is good, bad, or otherwise. And we'll do some reviews on that, try to have some fun. But why I'm asking that is on TikTok, I'm at the.schmitz. I need 1,000 followers. I have about 214 now. That's not a lot to go live. And I want to try to do it live. Right now, I have to do it in 60-second videos and try. It's really a difficult thing. So I'm trying to do that. So if you can, go to your TikTok, share it with your friends, with your people, and just try to get me up to 1,000 followers. And then I can do live. It'll be great. So anyway, enough of my selfishness and want to do that. Oh, wait. One more program note. So, I've been sort of dogging Rob Kendall and texting him and, badgering him about stuff. Well, hey, guess what? Monday, he invited me to lunch and we sort of buried the hatchet. We exchanged olive branches. We had a good sit down. We talked about this and that and had 8x10 photo glossy pictures with, paragraphs and writing on the back of them, and came up to a truce. So, and he was a gentleman, perfect gentleman about it. He paid for lunch. So now I think we have a clean slate going forward. And that's what he said. So I'm going to believe that. So we'll see how that works out. It's always what they say, keep your friends close, your enemies closer. But I think another way is the best way to get rid of an enemy is make him your friend. So there you go. That's some good news for this week. Last couple days of 2025. I'm getting melancholy already, but I'm going to go ahead and bring on our guest here. Nathan, what is happening tonight?
Yes, sir. I'm great. John, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. It's a little cold out today. My face is red from the wind because I'm a mason contractor and we were out building scaffold and trying to get ready to lay some block over in Plainfield. We're doing a 3-story elevator shaft.
Oh.
So they always said, hey, one day you're going to get the shaft. Well, so they're always fun to put up. But anyway, so how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I just got off an interview a few hours ago. I got off an interview with Newsmax, and that was the second time I had appeared on this gentleman's show. His name is Todd Starnes. Because the first time I went on with my brother and we discussed our whole situation, but then he loved it so much that he was like, I want to have you on so you can talk about just general stuff. So that was what I did. And I was kind of thrown off because the segment was about 7 minutes long. And I was told the 2 topics we would discuss, which one of them is like the rise of Christianity among young people. And the other is about some college, which is doing a bunch of woke stuff. But when the show came on, he started off with asking me this whole news segment about Charlie Kirk, which apparently his producer was supposed to send me, but apparently his producer didn't. So I had to come up with a bunch of stuff on the spot. And I kind of did okay because it was like somewhat related to the main topic, but it's not fun to be so flustered on live TV, but it turned out okay.
No, it doesn't work out. That's Tim Waltz, how that's going. Well, and you can see you actually, that was the most show prep we've done in probably 3 months that we did tonight. And that was what, 4 minutes. So, our thing here is like, hey, we're doing this stuff for fun. We're trying to promote people that are around and whatnot. And your story is definitely interesting, having a twin brother that is the opposite political persuasion as yourself. And, I think we could turn him over. I tell people, I said, man, that Nick's a Republican. He just doesn't know it. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you have more insight on that. But, there's just so much stuff going on right now. And your project with immigration, it seems to be sort of falling in line. I mean, you've been doing this for how long? How long have you had this project going?
We launched, I think, like October 3rd or 28th or something around there.
Yeah, it seems like you were ahead of the curve on this because it's a hot topic now with the Somali stuff going on. We had Haitians, we got, all this different stuff that's going on. And
absolutely,
I think there's a lot of people that are interested in see how this shakes out. But we see all this stuff going on, but you never see anybody going to jail. How does that work? I mean, I speed and I get a traffic ticket. I don't go to jail, but you know what I'm saying? I want to see at least some traffic tickets written. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and bring on the panel. I think we've covered all that we do. And where can people find your stuff? Let's do that real quick because I'll forget.
Yes, sir. The website is Save Heritage Indiana. You can see it tiny.
I don't want to give your phone number.
Oh, that's okay. That's not my phone number. That's the business phone number, I think.
Okay, good. I'm not giving you because these days. But there you go. How's that?
Save Heritage Indiana. That's good. SaveHeritageIndiana.org. And then you can find me on Twitter, my personal Twitter at NathanIndiana1. And then you can find our.
Are you on the TikTok? Twitter. Are you on the TikTok?
We have a TikTok. We have not posted on it.
Okay. Well, follow me. I'm trying to get 1,000 followers.
Well, I have a personal TikTok, so I will follow you once this interview is
you don't
over.
have to pay attention. I just need the followers because you can't go live until you get 1,000 followers. You can buy them. I think you could just pay like $30 and get them. But I want to do it the right way.
The right way.
I'm not a cheater. I'm not a cheater. I don't redistrict my Twitter from my TikTok.
You want good engagement. You do not want, like, if you buy a bunch of followers, it looks cool, but then your tweets all get like 2 likes because it deboosts you. So you can't be doing that.
Well, that'd be up from the one I get. Actually, though, I did have one on Threads that got 2 million views. So wow. I know. It works out like this: Facebook to Instagram to Threads. So I just posted it through. It was about €1 I found in the airport, and I took a real blurry picture. And man, they made fun of the boomer. The comments just took off, and it was if you want to laugh, go look at it. So I think it's the Schmitz on there. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and bring our people on here because I know Steve wants to get off of here. Let's bring on Steve and Tiffany. What is happening? Hey, we're going to be on the top. The guests and the hosts are going to be on the top. You guys get the basement today. So Tiffany, we'll start with you. No, wait. Sorry, Tiffany. We have a guest, Mr. Whitmer. Tell our viewers about.
Guest first.
Yeah, well, ladies first, guests first. I don't know.
Guest
wait.
first.
Hold on a second. Look who it is. Now I got to switch it all around.
Yay.
It's Lucy. She's a little blurry. Tiffany, tell her to
Perfect.
off her camera. So yeah, so we got a libertarian and a Republican and a libertarian, pretty much. Whitmer, are you a libertarian now, or what are you? Or
I paid to be one.
you're a Heinz 57.
We charged him extra.
Yeah. She doubled it, which I was more than happy to pay. I'm still waiting on my ID card.
Yeah, so we'll start with our guest person now, then we'll go to the ladies. Whitmer, how you doing tonight?
Very good. Very excited for Nathan Roberts to be on here. Big fan. Love the interview. Love the that you were in a committee meeting, mogging Randy Pohl and Greg Taylor and life is great.
That's right. Now, I'll let you plug your Bohatchik drill tomorrow, even though I got the stink eye from him when I was down at the State House just because of my association with you. What's the Bohatchik drill? What is that? Tell me that.
So State Senator Mike Bohatchik, he was arrested in like January or something for a DUI with a little Panda Express too. I think it was 3 times the legal limit. And then the cops drove him home because that's just how the rules are when you're during session. So tomorrow for the New Year's Eve, I'm going to see how much booze it requires to get to his level. No Panda Express though.
Did you try it last year and couldn't make it?
No, I made it. I broke my breathalyzer.
Oh yeah. Okay. So anyway, tune in to Witty Review
party
on YouTube. That's his preferred channel is YouTube, and it's well, it's not Witty Reviews. It's what is it on YouTube? What is your handle?
It's Witty Reviews on YouTube.
Okay, good. Okay, Tiffany, since you are on early and you've done your homework, you're next. And Lucy, wait, it's not your turn. Tiffany, how you doing? What you up to?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm back in the basement studio, so it's good to be back down here. And Nathan, I'm looking forward to the conversation. And Slick, it's always good to see you and interact with you. And Lucy, see you. Full house.
Careers going down the toilet tonight. I don't know who's, probably mine again. All right, Lucy, what's up? I thought you were going to be, getting some socks for some kids or something. What was your?
I got the running around done, and I'm really excited about having Nathan here because I read about himself and his twin, Nick, right? And so what we're going to find out tonight is we're going to find out if you take one soul and you split it into 2, and one becomes a Democrat and the other comes a Republican. If you can say Wonder Twin powers activate, then you can be a libertarian.
Okay, Lucy. Don't you got to take care of a kid or something? I swear. Okay, that's gonna be fun. All right, so
I'm
now,
here babysitting your sorry asses.
I know it.
You know,
I think that's not plural.
People did make jokes about a third. People did make jokes about us having a triplet, like a long lost triplet, who is a libertarian, and they would somehow be more annoying than either me or my brothers, and everybody liking them even less.
Yeah, well, Steve.
I'll tell you what actually happened is that was probably a fraternal rather than identical, and I have a lot of twins in my family. And so that fraternal probably completely ascended to heaven, like got the spark of life and was like, I'm out of here.
Straight up.
And so they left the
Well,
room.
there is a verse in the Bible. I think it's Ecclesiastes to talk about even a stillborn goes straight to heaven because they weren't introduced to this evil world, so they had no sin. That sounds like a pretty good policy, I guess. You don't have to do this to go straight to heaven. I don't know. Might sell that at the hardware store pretty easily. All right, so let's go. Who wants to start the questioning?
I have a question. So Nathan, tell us about your nonprofit.
Yes, ma'am. So I was just I'll kind of explain my background a little bit first. In 2016, the moment Trump came down the golden escalator, I fell in love. When he was talking about, the Islamic invasion of Europe, and there was terror attacks going on every single day, and he said, we need to build the wall, make Mexico pay for it. And he said, we're going to bring back jobs. I was like, that's my guy right there. He's honest. He's true. He doesn't sound like any other politician. And then the next day I watched MSNBC, and they were talking about Trump's thing, and they said that was the most racist speech I've ever seen before. That was so bad. And I was like, racist? I didn't hear anything racist at all. The fact that they that one moment was just like, okay, these people are not to be taken seriously. So I was a Trump fan all that era. I would say, I guess, like in the 2020s. Well, I did go to Trump rallies back then, so I guess that would have been my first kind of political awakening. I went with my family, including my brother. He went to he went to 2 Trump rallies with us, but I also went to Democrat rallies, even though just because it's fun to go to those things. But he did go to Trump rallies, so that was my first kind of political thing. In 2020, I was one of like the first 30 people in the state. I was protesting outside the governor's mansion on like March 2020 because I knew exactly where that whole COVID thing was going. And I was one of the first ones. There was probably 30, 40 people there. I was probably the youngest person that went of my own volition.
You're the youngest Republican I know.
Probably, yeah. Well, I know plenty younger, but yeah, there's a lot of young Republicans these days. But so I went to that COVID rally, and then in 2021, I went to the COVID rally at the State House because I had a job at the time, and I obviously didn't get the vaccine, and they were threatening to fire me, so I went to that protest, and I met Micah Beckwith there. That was when he was just like a random pastor who spoke out about stuff. I met Tony Kennett there. I met Indy Spanglish there, and I did that, and then I started going to some local GOP things and meeting people on Twitter. Earlier this year, I testified at an education bill on the partisan school boards because I was asked to do that on Twitter. But it wasn't until I met this guy, Daniel Pointer, just from a random Twitter group chat because he mentioned he lives in Lawrence Township where I live. And I was like, oh, I'll reach out to him. He seems cool, MAGA guy. I'm like, okay. Reached out. I learned he had ran a previous nonprofit group that was like conservative environmental solutions, like conservation. And he wanted to do something on immigration. And we basically created the whole organization in the span of like a lunch. The kind of elevator pitch is that immigration is always the first or second issue that voters and Republicans say means the most to them. And there's groups for everything at the State House. You have dogs and cats, pro-development, anti-development, healthcare, pro-abortion, anti-abortion, pro-vaccine, anti-vaccine. But there's nothing on against illegal immigration. And not only is there not anything against immigration or illegal immigration, but there's over 100 full-time employees working on the other side just in Indiana to keep our borders as open as possible. And all it takes is one Democrat president to get back into the White House and just not enforce immigration laws like Biden did. And then we have another 40 million illegals in our country. So states have to be able to protect themselves from a hostile foreign government or a hostile federal government that wants to bring in foreigners into our state. So that's basically the whole mission. Since we launched late October. We had an in-person event, which Stephen Whitmer went to. There was about 30 people that went there. We have about 100 people who have gone to one of our virtual events. We've had 800 Hoosiers sign the pledge on our website, which is to end mass migration. We got endorsements from the lieutenant governor, 2 state representatives, a bunch more pending. This is like the worst time to have meetings or get endorsements. So it's a little bit slower than I think it would have been otherwise. But we have a whole bunch of pendings. We probably met 15 state representatives, state senators. We have gotten about 3,000 followers on TikTok. We've raised about $30,000. We've had a lot of success considering me and my co-founder are both volunteers, but we're trying to secure the funding for 2026 so we can both fully dedicate our time to it. So yeah, that's basically the story of Safe.
I got a first question for you, Nathan.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know what the Kalergy plan is? KALERGI.
I do know what that is. I've heard of that before.
So many people haven't heard of it. Do you know what the end goal of the Kalergy plan is?
Isn't that the theory that everybody is supposed to be mixed up all together and there's no like individual races
very
anymore?
Similar. It's called the mongrelization of the races. And Kalergy was a political activist on the Marxist communist side. I think it might have been actually the Franklin School of Thought that came out of Germany, which is the underpinning of a lot of the communism in Europe. the Franklin School or Frankfurt
I
School?
think it's Frankfurt.
Yeah, it's probably Frankfurt since it's Germany. But I always lived in Indianapolis where there's Franklin, so it's easy to get confused when you're a Hoosier, right? So the whole idea of that, and this has been played out in the migration effort from Africa up into Europe, because they imported a lot of people from the African nations up into Europe, and the whole idea is for them to mix with the white race, and by the way, I'm not a white nationalist. My husband's American Indian, so that's where I am on the race thing. I've already mixed the races.
You got a Native American friend, so that makes you not racist.
Yeah, that's it. I have a token Native American, and I married him, so I get to keep him for life. And we have 10 kids.
You want to make sure.
10 kids.
Yeah, but the whole idea of the clergy plan was the mongrelization of the races, and it was a way to take away the white heritage and white culture and to suppress that throughout Europe. So you might look into that and how it affects what's going on here in the United States. I can speak confidently as a woman that has 10 children, but no twins. I never did multiples. They're all singletons. And it was interesting as somebody growing up. I have a French degree. And so even when I was high school, we talked about the racial distribution of France, because after the Algerian Wars and the migration of Algerians up into France, it was clear that France by the 1980s had already hit the tipping point. They were not at replacement population. French people were having 0.9 to 1.5 kids, so they weren't even replacing themselves. And then on top of that, I've got people coming in. On top of that, the Muslim immigrants were having 8 to 10 children each, and so we knew in the 80s that France would no longer be France.
Yeah, well, they got George Clooney now.
That's such an idiot move. Their top tax rate is 90%. I mean, that's why Gérard Depardieu left, is because they were going to tax him at 90%. He's an old-time Hollywood French star, Nathan, way before. In fact, he was probably a star before you were even born.
He was probably a star before my grandparents were born.
Could be.
So Whitmer, ask a question. You've already been to his event and everything, so ask a question here.
So for the public, everybody keeps doing a little bit of fear mongering, right? It's like, oh, well, you're just anti-immigration, you're just racist, and every other buzzword there is. But I know Nathan Roberts, not personally, but went to the event. Nathan is based, all right, way more based than his brother, obviously. However, I would be curious to know if you are not just for Save Heritage Indiana, but also for your opinion, do you think there should be a moratorium, and if so, for how long? Immigration moratorium.
100%. We used to say moratorium. Our position on it is we support an immigration moratorium for 30 years until we figure out what the hell's going on. There's so many first generation, even second generation immigrants that are in our country that are nowhere near, I would say, anywhere close to being assimilated. And before we accept one more immigrant, we should assimilate those that are already here. And so that used to be our position, was a 30-year immigration moratorium. We've slightly amended that to now, instead of saying immigration moratorium, we say 30-year immigration pause, because for one, we got some people saying, what does moratorium mean? Two,
that's where you bury people, in the moratorium.
Yeah. Two, there's a congressman named Chip Roy who actually introduced a thing called the Pause Act into U.S. Congress, which would basically be a 30-year, it was some immigration pause. And third, pause just sounds nicer than moratorium. So yes, we support 30-year immigration moratorium. We need 0, 0, 0 immigrants until the ones here are fully assimilated, and then we can open our doors again. But the immigration system, both legal and illegal, has been used to screw over Americans and native Hoosiers for as long as my lifetime, at least. And I think it's the duty of all of us to say, this system isn't something that can just have a few tweaks here and there, and then we can just operate like business as usual. It needs to be totally overhauled. And I would say it's a crisis that if you just look around and go to Walmart, I go to Walmart in Fishers, Indiana, and I can easily hear 25 languages when I walk around. I'm not saying that like it's the worst thing ever and those people all need to be deported, but it's like, can I not go to any local business around and not just hear English? I went to that Walmart and the person who's working, I said, "Oh, where are the batteries in the store?" And she was like, pulled out her phone, made me speak into Google Translate. This is in Fishers, Indiana, Hamilton County, supposedly the
The
nicest
last
place.
white bastion of the state.
Nathan,
How can
I could-
Hamilton County have any brown people? I thought Tiffany was the
Yeah.
only one.
Yeah.
I'm
She's
from-
a
I'm
brown
from
queen.
Fishers.
What's
We have
going
some
on?
brown people in Fishers. We're a pretty diverse city. We have a lot of professionals here. So if you're looking for a city in Indiana that's going to be 100% people who look like you and speak English like you,
Martinsville.
you're not going to find it in Fishers.
It's not even there, brother.
Or you were
It used to
talking
be.
about how people Hoosiers have been screwed over by immigration. For the folks in the cheap seats, can you talk just a little bit more about what you mean about how immigrants are hurting people like you? Aside
Well-
from not being able to find batteries.
Yeah. Well, I would say the most damning stat that I would have is in Indiana, we spend $1.5 billion every single year on ESL programs at Indiana public schools. And that number is increasing. It went from 5% in 2016 to 10% in 2024.
And that's just for the rednecks who don't know how to speak English. What are we
Yeah.
spending on the
Yeah.
actual immigrants?
Yeah. Hey, there ain't no rednecks around here, Lucy.
In Seymour, Indiana, that's the home of John Mellencamp, Jack and Diane Small Town,
And Jim Lucas.
and Jim Lucas. 35% of the school population does not speak English. And Logansport, Indiana, they had a 3 times increase in the school non-English speaking population. These numbers, there was never a referendum in Indiana to decide whether people wanted this in their communities. Indiana's voted Republican in every single statewide election since 2012. We've had supermajorities in the state house and state senate. We've always sent Republicans to the U.S. House since 2010, 2012. We voted for Trump 3 times. So why does Indiana have the highest foreign-born increase between 2021 to 2025 of any state in the country? We've had a 50% increase in just 4 years.
Is it because some of the non-technical jobs that the immigrant population is doing? Does it have to do with the type of labor that's needed here, do you think? Or what have you found attracts the immigrant population?
It's the weather.
Yeah.
It's the welfare benefits. I'm going to speak
Bingo.
to this. I'm going to
Well,
speak
wait
to
a minute.
this.
Well,
real
I was
quick.
asking Nathan based on his organization.
That's a
attracts-
really good question. Indiana is the highest percent of manufacturing state of any state in the country, and that probably is one of the contributing factors. I'd also say we have a lot of like religious charities, and those are some of the biggest contributors to bringing over like refugees. 3 were the Crossroads of America, so like every single highway comes, so like trucking companies, you get a lot of stuff like that. I would also say that we do have some of the more moderate Republicans in the country who tend to be more business friendly than some Republicans in other areas. And that's definitely a contributing factor as well. And we're close to Chicago. And Chicago's kind of like a hub for a lot of this stuff. So
Immigration. I met some Russian immigration guys who are basically Russian mafia.
So Nathan, just one more question before Lucy asks her. We had Curtis Hill on a couple of weeks ago, and he said that history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. So America used to be that country of immigrants, the whole melting pot theory. As you look back over the last 250 years, do you think that there was ever a point where immigrants actually contributed to American society? And do you think we can get back to that?
Well, first of all, I would say the melting pot is a very like modernistic idea, just like nation of immigrants. Those terms were never used by the founding fathers. George Washington never said he wants a melting pot. He never said America's a nation of immigrants. Those terms were invented in the 20th century to justify more and more and more immigration, mostly because business loved the low-skill immigrants we were getting from Europe at that time. And that's a really complicated question, I think, genuinely. Most people in Indiana would not have supported the immigrants we got in the early 20th century. To be honest, I haven't done enough research to say if that was a good thing. But something I'm confident in saying is within my lifetime, the level of immigration we've got has not been a net positive for Indiana.
So
or for America.
I would say, do you see the difference between like immigrants and then people coming across the border completely illegally, coming across with their cell phones, their backpacks? Are we talking about all immigrants?
So you're basically saying legal versus illegal immigrants?
Correct.
I mean, I definitely see the difference. There are different types of people that do each one, but I do think that both systems, granted, I would say there's definitely illegal and or legal and definitely maybe even some illegal immigrants who, if you look at their life, they probably improve their community. But as a whole, no, most of them are not like that. I would say with legal and illegal immigrants, and the system as a whole has been used to screw over Americans, at least within my lifetime.
So,
With
okay,
both systems.
for your
Even though,
honesty. That.
yes, even though there's good people in each category with legal and illegal, but just because there's good people in a system doesn't mean that our entire law system has to be based off of like making an exception the rule.
okay, I want to
Bingo.
get
The exception should not be the rule.
the exception should not be the rule. I want to get this question because we have the chat here. So Robert Maliki, Tiffany's one of her big fans. His grandparents had to, when they had to have a sponsor and a job lined up. Is that, I mean, to me, that seems like a fair deal. Now, I know that sort of rings as chain immigration, because, that's what happens. Like one family member comes over and then they get the next family member, and then they get the neighbors. And, I know that that's a big Mexican. I mean, you've heard of the Mexican chain in Domino's, where there's literally a Mexican chain of bringing people into the country. A little bit of background for me. I'm old enough to remember when Reagan gave 6 million amnesties, back in '86. I also started my masonry company in the early '90s, and which was flooded with undocumented workers that would work, 7 days a week, 12 hours for less money, basically ruin the residential masonry business, which I had enough savvy to go to commercial business where it sort of weeds that out a little bit because of the pay, and there's a lot more paperwork and whatnot to go on there. So I've sort of lived through this, I guess, the policies we've had over the last 30 or 40 years. So, I mean, I think no immigration is probably not the answer, but how do we get these people in here in the right way? A sponsor, a job? What do you think?
I support zero immigration as a policy. And the sponsor thing, a lot of people have this idea that all it takes to be an American or be a Hoosier is have a job and speak English. It's like, that cannot be the bar for assimilation. The way you're an assimilated immigrant is to consider yourself to be 100% of the people. 100%. You're not a foreigner. You don't have any foreign identity. You don't have any trappings.
Not waving their flag,
not waving your flag. Exactly. That's a great example. You'll get people on Twitter who are saying, why are my cousins getting deported? And then they have a Mexican flag in their Twitter handle. It's like, you can't be mad about getting deported to a country that you're so proud to wave in your Twitter handle. So I would disagree with the framing that just like I'm going to say it a million times. We don't hate anybody. There's plenty of good people who immigrate here. I understand the situation. I'm mad about the system, not the individuals.
Would you go to a doctor who was not of, what do you call it, like traditional American descent? I mean, what do you call like non-immigrants?
You could say like first generation immigrants.
So would you go see a doctor that was an immigrant?
If I thought he was qualified, yeah.
What do you consider qualified? Like MD credentials?
I don't really go to the doctor, so you'd have to use a different example because
I don't know if Nathan is like me, but I recognize that doctors are the third leading cause of death in this country. So I avoid them. I don't care what color they are.
There's
They're
so
all
much medical deaths out there.
Sure. And a root canal
is like the number one.
I get it. So, but I guess my question is around, what do you consider an okay immigrant?
Not here.
Assimilating would be good.
I mean, so you're saying, I would say currently the immigrants we get that are good are ones that consider themselves to be 100% American, 100% Hoosiers if they're here. Consider them like, don't think of their foreign nationality or heritage and
Like
they don't
Raju
consider
would
that
be a
to
perfect example of that. Raju Shantala is all India first, bragging about India. We have Sid Mahant and Avon who's saying, hey, we need to lower the minimum requirement to get an Indiana CDL because it's discriminatory against people whose first language isn't English. Like those people are not American. Sid, I would consider it as a paper citizen. Raju is not assimilated to Indiana. He is India first. And I think this is why I love Save Heritage Indiana, because they're getting through all the weeds and really asking the uncomfortable questions like, well, what makes yourself an American? And I would say making yourself putting India first before America is India person.
Well, I don't think
India.
it's really fair to characterize Raju like that without having him on the show to defend himself.
Put him on the show.
I'll get him on the phone. Hold on,
I've been with different populations of people who consider themselves just as American as anyone else.
That's their opinion, isn't it?
Because it's like, an American of Indian descent, African Americans. So I just really think that it's just a very slippery slope with some of the definitions that we're using. Like my people came over on slave ships. Am I an immigrant? My parents, they lived in New Jersey. So
what do you celebrate? Do you put America first or the places where they came from first?
Well, yeah, I'm all about New Jersey and the Philadelphia Eagles. So
Stephen, I'm going to attack you on that one.
Here we go. Go for it.
Africans that came over were erased. They were given the names of their owners. So you don't know whether somebody was from Ghana or Ethiopia or Somalia when they came over in the boats in the 17 and 1800s, because that was wiped from them. So that's kind of a bullshit question.
It's not.
So
but
technically, we're American descendants of slaves. So, but you get to the point. So I don't know. This is a very uncomfortable conversation for me,
and that's why we're having it.
And I appreciate that, because I am so very uncomfortable. Because, I spend time with a lot of people. I've lived outside of the country. I lived in Portugal, where we had to understand that we were Americans regardless of the country, and we were living in another country, and we had to respect and assimilate to their rules. So I do.
And that's not happening with Somalians here.
Thank you.
So I think that we should get to the real issue. It's assimilation and understanding how Americans carry themselves. What are the cultural norms and things of that nature? So I
got a whole page of notes. I'm
fantastic. Go hand it to Lucy.
Let's take it away. So first of all, as a libertarian, I want to say that my core belief is free emigration and free immigration. I believe that lines drawn on a map are total arbitrary bullshit and are only reflective of the fact that we are human farms being farmed. And as soon as we stop producing the milk, they try to put us in the MAID program, the assistance in dying programs, as soon as you get to that age. So just want to lay the groundwork. I believe in free emigration and immigration. And I also believe in the philosophy of the YouTube channel Nomad Capitalist, who says, go where you are treated best. And he helps people get passports from all around the world. Now, here's the problem that we have with current immigrants. Current immigrants are not aspirational. America, the United States, used to have the most incredible reputation for freedom and liberty all over the world. So much so that people fought to get here. They did everything that they could to get here because they wanted to be American, because we were unique. That is completely different from the type of immigration that we have now, which is the importation of a voting bloc in order to swing political power to the left. So I saw this in my old neighborhood in Southport, which is Holly Hills. So if those of you on the south side of Indianapolis might know where that is. And what we have down there is the importation of a Burmese population, which I'm sure Nathan is familiar with. My brother is a career firefighter down in that area. And I did lots of loans as a loan officer in that area. And the things that I found challenging about that area with the importation of the Burmese population is the Burmese had no desire to assimilate. One of my loan customers who was on Stop 12 Road, her property backed up to a big apartment complex. And so what she saw from the Burmese is, first of all, they called 911 because they thought somebody was being murdered in the apartment. It was actually because they were, I want to say sacrificing, but harvesting a goat. They were killing a goat, which is really a loud thing to do, in their bathtub. And then they brought that goat because they didn't know how to use, the electric stoves. So they brought that goat into the in the common area of the apartment complex and were like roasting it on a spit. So obviously that was crazy. My loan client was in a lawsuit because when they came over, and by the way, it was the Mormons. The Mormons are the ones who imported these Burmese into, just so you know. So they would get big cash, I mean, we're talking like $65,000 per immigrant that they were given when they got here. So my brother's experience that he relayed to me was, they would get a call, somebody would be in labor, there would be some sort of reason for him to go to a house as a firefighter. And, here's the woman in labor who doesn't speak English. And there's all these people peeking out from the bedrooms because they'd have one family per bedroom. None of the women were ever officially married because they needed to be able to qualify as a single person for all the different welfare programs. And so that became a real big problem. Now, the problem that we have, and I'll see if I can find the article that I just read by a Peace Corps volunteer who spent his time in Somalia. And he was giving some context to Somalian culture and how their culture is not like ours. We're brought up in a culture that believes that there is a king and our ancestors fought to take us away from that king so that we would have individual freedom and liberty, which comes with the responsibility of acting correctly in a just society. I mean, that's kind of the American dream, right? Everybody can get to the top as long as they do the right thing. Unfortunately, the Somalian culture is completely the opposite. He described in this article his experience as a Peace Corps officer, that everything was about what they could get from somebody else, and that theft was not really theft because everything belonged to them. So you see the entitlement in the Somali culture and the billions and billions of dollars that Minnesota and federal taxpayers have shoved into that program. So hopefully we'll see some arrest from that. So what's going on with Somalia is just them acting out their own culture, but we're the ones, that are being stolen from. So the mindset is, did they fight here to come here because it's aspirational and they want to be an American, or did they come here to take advantage of that and take advantage of us? And let's see. Oh, and on the sponsor thing, I'm going to give my personal view. If somebody's going to come over, I believe that they should have a sponsor. They should have some way to come in here to have somebody that's kind of responsible for them and that can suffer consequences themselves if the person that they sponsor and bring in does bad things. I'm in Southern Indiana now, just a few minutes from Corydon, which was the first capital in Indiana. It was not Indianapolis. We have a Pakistani family, and the first person that came in fought to get here, very upstanding person. It took him 12 or 15 years, whatever the naturalization process is. He is delighted and America first. Now, his cousin that he sponsored to come in is completely the opposite type of immigrant. He came here because he saw the business opportunity that was given to immigrants that are not given to us. Like, this is not going to happen for me. The government actually gave the immigrant enough money to start 4 different convenience stores. So he started the first one, then they got the second one and the third one. He's getting pretty good at the paperwork. He has 4 of them. There are kids in Brandenburg, Kentucky, which is just over the line, that I think 1 died and 3 ended up in the hospital because they went to the convenience stores, which sold CBD and the THC. That's another whole thing. But anyway, they were selling illegal shots of synthetic marijuana. So the kids would go buy the vapes, and then they would give them an extra $25 and they would put this, synthetic marijuana on it. And 1 kid died and a couple of them, went to the hospital and almost died. But that same immigrant who has these 4 convenience stores and is actively harming American youth gets Medicaid, he gets SNAP, and he gets the government to supply him with the money for all these convenience stores. So there's 3 different layers of how the immigrants and the immigration situation is hurting us. This is a political football. And Nathan, I hope that you get some good stuff done. I'm not here to say what color your skin should be or what language you should be. I think everybody should be free to leave or free to come. By the way, when you try to leave the United States, we may be the only country that I know of that will actively follow you, that if you try to leave, it will first strip you of your assets. So if you're in a position like I am right now, where you don't have a lot of cash, you don't have a lot of assets, this would be the perfect time for me to leave the United States because there's nothing they can take from me. But the IRS will follow you for 10 years after you give up your citizenship and demand taxes from wherever you are around the world. So
That
there's
seems
immigration and immigration.
So, all right, totally complete. I don't know if you was there.
Thank you.
This is where
Thank
I
you
say,
for coming to my TED Talk.
Is there a question in there somewhere, Lucy? There's not. So this is a question.
Nathan, do you intend to create a white America?
No.
Ooh.
I would say, though, to your thing about the Pakistani who brought over his cousin, there's a famous saying which is like, okay, so we want to bring in immigration. So we're going to bring over a bunch of doctors into our country. Great. We bring in doctors from India, Nigeria, Germany, Brazil, Mexico. These doctors are great. So if they're great, their family must be great. So those doctors bring over their cousins, and their cousins are shopkeepers, like gas station owners. And we say, well, they're okay, but they're already here, so we might as well make the most of them. And why not bring their family over? Just bring everybody over. And then their cousins are like, street sweepers who have never used a running toilet before. That's how immigration kind of works in America.
Hey,
That, like literally
language.
literally, like, so we get some like good immigrant, and then we say, well, because they're good, their entire family and country can come here. It's like, no, that's not how it should work at all.
Yep. So Tyler Mitchell wants to know, what side of town are you on?
I live in Lawrence Township. I went to Lawrence North High School.
Larry North. I remember when that
Yes, sir.
started in 1980. Ooh, that's how old I am. We lost our first football game to them. They were brand new, and we lost to them.
What school did you go to, John?
I went to Perry Meridian. Yeah, we went.
Oh, Perry Meridian, nice.
And actually, Dave Cheslin was a fraternity brother of mine. He was one of the first graduating classes in 1980 from there, I guess. Another question. I got another thing.
Wait, but before I forget, me and my brother are the first. We're 3-generation Lawrence North. Our grandma was in the first Lawrence North graduating class in 1977, I believe. And
Was that it? I thought it started in 80.
No, it started earlier than that. I think it was either 76 or 77, but my grandma was in the first graduating class.
Reading, but I
What's
just
your
remember we
ethnic
lost
background, Nathan? Where'd your
I'm English and German.
What generation came from Germany?
Well, my grandma, my mom's mom, was actually raised partially half in America, half in Germany, because her mom was a war bride basically after World War II. But she went back and forth between Indiana and Germany. So if you want to accuse my great grandma of being an immigrant, you can, because she was from Germany. Although she also married an American and then like moved to Indiana. So
that's okay. So that's okay. That's not an immigrant, though.
I mean, it's an immigrant, but I think you would obviously acknowledge that
she came over as a bride, which means she had a sponsor, and that sponsor was so committed to her that he married her.
Ringed her up.
Like,
how hot was your grandma?
She was good looking back in the day. She was good looking back in the day. But I've seen pictures. But like,
because Johann Lowndes, my immigrant, came over from Germany in the 1700s. So
mine was 1840 or 60 or something like that.
But
he fought the American Revolution.
But that's the most recent immigrant I have. My paternal line, which my dad's dad, they're Swiss Germans who moved to Pennsylvania in the 1720s, and I have direct ancestors who were in on the Mayflower and were in Jamestown. So in terms of old stock American, you
just got some. Heinz. We're all Heinz 57. One of the things, real quick, I got a question after this, but I just wonder, how the heck did we make it to here? You think about all the stuff that our ancestors had to go through. And I'll give you a real quick thing on how to tell where you came from way, way, way back. So it concerns your toes on your feet. So you got your big toe. The next 2 toes beside it, if they are bigger or as big as your big toe, you are of a Roman descent. If the one that's the next one to it is bigger, then that means you are of Greek descent. If they just go straight down a diagonal, that means you're an Egyptian descent. So you can look on your own time. I don't want you to see your feet on the show right now.
All 3. I was a ballerina. All 3 of my toes. Well, there's big toe, and then the next 3 are all longer than my big toe.
That means you're a Roman. You're of a Roman descent. So there you go.
My last name was Byzance, which means the man from Byzantine. So Byzantine and the Ottoman Empire.
Well, mine from Schmitz is Austrian, which the Romans had a big conquest in Germania for a bunch of years. So, you can go back to that. But how do you think we made it this far? I mean, how many my people must have, they could have been kings. They could have been paupers. Who knows where our lineage was? It's just one of those things I thought about the other day. I was like,
but I think
how did that
sometimes
make it
it's
this
hard
long?
to define what an American is. Lucy, I think you did a really great job of laying out the implications of people who come to our country and are not standing on their own feet and who are taking advantage of government subsidies, because that is the taxpayer paying their bill. And Nathan, I really hope you're listening to that, because she laid it out in a really good way that supports your argument, that takes it from being something that someone could deem as being very racist and white Christian nationalist and very uncomfortable, to having a really great conversation about the implications to taxpayers. Because if I have a job, you should have a job, and you should have a job. Everybody should have a job, and everybody should pay their own way if they want to be in the United States. But Lucy, thank you for that.
So
thank you. And let's go back to the Constitution. I wish Andy Horning was here because he could school us all. These immigrants coming over for these programs would not exist unless your politicians first colluded and then decided to screw us all over. You're not voting your way out of this shit.
Hey, Whitmer's the only one that can cuss on this show.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to switch it up here. So Donald Trump's got the $5 million gold card, or whatever you call it. So what do you think about somebody paying $5 million to get in? I mean, that's not a bad deal.
Some of them might individually be net contributors to America and be good, but as a whole, I would still shut it down. I mean, people that come to America with tons of money, in terms of values, they're not really any better or worse than people that come here with no money. And just because somebody comes with a bunch of money that they're dropping off does not mean that they're improving anything or even consider themselves to be an American. I want people who are proud to live here and consider themselves to be 100% of the country. And having money is not, if anything, it's probably reverse correlated, to be honest. So,
Nathan,
most countries, I'm sorry, Tiffany, most countries have a citizenship by investment program. So if you want citizenship in Turkey, for example, you go buy $400,000 worth of real estate. The Latin American countries have started to go up in price as more people have wanted to move. And before Trump's gold card, the American citizenship by investment program was 1.05 million. Or if you were in a low cost area, they took it down to 800,000. So if you're willing to take the hard work that you had accomplished in your country and bring it to the United States and invest, then we're willing to have you.
Yeah, I'm totally not at all opposed to that theory or to that program in theory if we had much stricter sort of requirements on making sure that the people coming here actually shared our values. But as it currently stands, you
got like a bunch of Muslims
what are
in
these
there.
values that you say, Nathan? I mean, I love that you're defending your thoughts, and I love that you set up your nonprofit. But when you paint with such a broad stroke, it's difficult. When you say American values, uphold our values, what are the values that you're speaking of? When you talk about people contributing, as you grow out, have you defined like Indiana heritage? Like these are just concepts that it can just make for a better conversation that might rest better with people and not make it so awkward. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. In terms of values, I would basically point to people like Zohran Mamdani and AOC and Ilhan Omar and just say
they're not in Indiana. I mean, like
we have their own style.
Jesse Brown.
Exactly.
We got them.
They're in New York. New York has a whole other set. I mean, like the Big Apple. I love New York. Everybody's New York. But when you say Indiana heritage, what does that mean?
Well, to go back to the values thing, I mean, I hate to be so kind of base it on politics, but for one, I hate to repeat myself, but I feel like I've been asked this. Sorry, my phone popped up. Not considering yourself to be anything foreign. That is an immigrant. That's a test I would say most immigrants to our country fail, like point blank. Even the second generation immigrants, a lot of them fail. The most like crazy statistic ever is this is a little bit sidetracked, but in Britain, more British Muslims in the 2010s joined ISIS than joined the British military. Went to a foreign country and joined ISIS than joined the British military. You get perks for being in the military. You get respect by some people. You get to stay in your country. You're not an international criminal. And yet more of them chose to join ISIS.
So are you saying in the
assimilation,
United States we should have like a draft, or everybody should have to join the National Guard? Is that something
no,
that would
Just
no?
not join ISIS.
yeah, yeah, not doing
That's
ISIS.
what I got out of that.
I'm not against the idea of a national draft, but my whole thing is that assimilation is not at all guaranteed, even through multiple generations. There's a lot of people in London who say that, in fact, in the 60s, there was Pakistanis and Bangladeshis in my community, but they were all lovely and they spoke English and they genuinely wanted to be here. And then now their grandkids are like totally the opposite and they act like first generation immigrants, even though their family's been there for 60 years. That is common all throughout Europe. And it's proof that just because a lot of people, I think, have this theory that it's optimistic, but it's their theory that the longer somebody's here, eventually they'll become American, and they'll consider themselves to be
But
100% American.
wouldn't you
But
consider
that's not
some of those
guaranteed at all.
people like marginalized?
Which people are you talking about?
Like some of the folks that you're talking about in Europe, if you're in Europe and you join ISIS, I mean, wouldn't we consider some of those people to be marginalized and not mainstream? Do any immigrants become mainstreamed?
Define marginalized.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Probably people who are in ISIS, people in the US who are like in the Klan, people who are in these fringe groups who are not your mainstream kind of everyday American, who are hiding out in like these chat groups, and they're planning to do domestic terrorism, things of that nature.
That's the word you're looking for, is radicalized.
Oh, thank you. Radicalized.
We definitely don't
So
want
you're saying weren't they radicalized? Yeah, but I would say the radicalization, a lot of it comes from the internet, but a lot of it comes from their communities. There's been tons of British Muslim imams that have been arrested for like terrorist threats against their own country, and that's just something that happens in their communities.
Sure.
It's so bad in the UK that 14-year-old girls are carrying around machetes because their sister was raped.
It's bad in the UK, but it's really bad in America too. So some Americans do this thing where we like to point to the UK or France or Germany, be like, it's really bad over there. Thank God we don't have those problems. It's like America has plenty of problems.
I'm not driving up to Dearbornistan,
Yeah.
because I know that if I try as a white woman, if I try and walk through, like I'm heavily armed and I don't have enough ammunition to protect myself in Dearbornistan.
I don't think nobody's going to mess with you, Lucy. I think you're safe. You had 10 kids, you would just murder them on the spot, I'm sure.
You got a football team.
No,
You're fine.
no, I would not murder anyone. I would act only in self-defense.
That's
if
what
I feel
I meant.
that my life is in danger.
Stand your ground.
It's like moratorium. You would moratorium.
Mortuary warrior.
Well, she would pause them. She would put them on 4 minute.
I would pause them. Yeah.
That's a good one. See you guys, you correct me on this. You keep me online on this
This
show.
is a great civil discourse.
I think we really need to be concerned about how do you discover the intentions of someone, especially if those intentions are hidden? Because I have Muslim friends that are very American, delighted to be here, fought to get here, engineers, doctors. Pita Land is like the best place to eat in Fishers. When I go home to Fishers, that's where I love to eat. But their religion, if they are a practicing person of Islam persuasion, I don't know what kind of thing you want to give on that, their very religion demands the conquest from within. And just like the Mormons and just like the Jews, they have the same ethic of it's okay to lie to your adversary. I was brought up as a Mormon that I was to say and do anything that would make the church look good. And that as a Mormon girl, I was encouraged to date outside of my faith for the purpose of bringing them back and converting them into Mormonism.
Wow. It's like,
and that's here in Indiana.
Didn't that sound like a cult to me? Does that sound like a cult?
It was a cult, but the same thing happens. I dated a couple of Muslim men when I was a freshman at IUPUI because, I speak French, and French, that was my major, and French is the parlor language. In so many Middle Eastern countries, you speak Farsi, you speak, Iranian, you speak all these different languages, but everybody would come together and they would speak French. And because I wanted to be an international business attorney, and French is still the international business language, that's why I chose French. But I will tell you the disrespect, the absolute disrespect of being a white female. And of course, I was so naive. I was brought up Mormon, so I didn't know all this stuff. the disrespect that I felt. I'll just give you an example because my husband almost beat the crap out of somebody when we were dating. There was a Muslim that I thought was my friend, and I'm going to tell you something really funny here in a second. But there was a Muslim that I thought was my friend, and he and I would talk. We'd have a great time. I would hang out with all these people from the Middle East because we would all speak French together. But yet, at a Halloween party, my sophomore year, which is when I was dating my husband, I'm out there dancing, having a good time. And his name's Muhammad. Of course, they're all named Muhammad. This Muhammad was from Kuwait. His family is very, very wealthy. And he tapped my husband on the shoulder and pointed at me and said, "I slept with her." And my husband said, "No, you didn't, you dirty." That's my girlfriend. And I know that you did not have sex with her. "Oh, man, I'm bad. I'm so sorry. My bad. I must have her mixed up with somebody else." "Yeah, you frickin' do." So one of the things that is just kind of, this is just kind of funny. My last name was Byzance. My maiden last name was Byzance. And the first time that I, got introduced to this, group of Middle Eastern students, they started laughing. I'm like, "What are you laughing about?" So one of them drew Lucy, that's my name. They drew Lucy from the comic strip Peanuts with huge breasts. Turns out Bizazz, and my name is Byzance. Bizazz means tits in Arabic.
So
I was Lucy with the big.
You could have been Lucy in the sky with diamonds. I mean, you could have been anything. I wish I would have known Lucy when she was younger. That would have been fun.
You would have dated her?
I don't know about that. I don't know if I can do it, but I don't know if I could deal with 10 kids. So, because that would be the future.
I was telling stories.
How many kids?
I was telling stories to my 12-year-old about how crazy I was. No, you would not have dated me because you're a normal person.
No, I'm not normal. So there's good. So Nick, we're gonna wind it up here.
Nathan,
This has been
Nathan, not Nick. Called him Nick.
Hey Nathan, even the host can't tell you apart
That's
from your
the worst.
I was just
thing
like,
you can call me.
I'm gonna do good. I've been telling myself, Nathan all day.
I actually spent
Don't be
some
a
time
boomer.
with Nick at a housing event. NACA came to Indianapolis. I think they came twice, and your
They
brother
did?
was there. We were helping. NACA comes in. It's character-based lending. It's backed by Bank of America, and they help people who can pay their bills. It's down payment on it. Oh, it's a home loan. No down payment. It's actually better than a VA loan. And it's for people, if you can swing your monthly bills, they help you to get a home loan. And I spent some time with your brother there. We were celebrating people getting home loans. So I can only imagine what it's like at your house on Thanksgiving. So
How did the thing with him go?
oh, it went really well. I mean,
good.
we were there just understanding how NACA can help people in Indianapolis get into homes, enjoy home ownership. So with the character-based lending, people don't have to have a down payment. They've just got to be able to pay they're already paying exorbitant amounts of rent.
Witty's
Their
really
cell phone
impressed
bill.
with it.
So I know, it's NACA. It's backed by Bank of America. They're actually better than VA loans. So they're helping people out.
All
So
right,
we're both of us there as city councilors, just watching the dream of home ownership for people.
People want
Perfect.
home ownership.
Hey,
Well,
I have a
Nathan,
serious question for Tiffany. On that NACA program, was it single family only, or would they do multiplexes like double, triple, or quads?
It was single family housing. Well, actually, no. I think they would probably do duplexes.
I just looked up the program where you're talking, and you only need 30 hours a week. Is that all over Indiana, or just in Indianapolis?
So
Are they
it's
nationwide?
Witty,
it's
this is how they blow
nationwide.
up my show to go over an hour.
Yeah,
You see what
it's
they're doing here?
nationwide, and it's just designed to help people, mainly kind of like in more inner city areas, enjoy home ownership, but national program. So, it's interesting. When we were there were people like, "Well, I already have a house. Can I get a second house?" They're like, "No, this is for a primary residence for people." So
we should actually, and Tiffany, I would be great on this because I've been a mortgage broker since '96. We should have a program to kind of reveal to people all the different ways that you can get into a home, because a lot of people think that they can't, and they have no idea the miracles that we can pull.
oh yeah.
All right. Well, hey, this is great.
And
We can have
he's
a
on the
show with you
Aggie
guys
board.
someday.
John, what board are you on? Aren't you on a housing board?
I'm on KG, Community Action of Greater Indianapolis.
Like,
So
yeah.
it's we have about a $12 million budget. We do a lot of weatherization for underserved people. We have housing we have all sorts of different things that we do in greater, it's Boone County, Hamilton County, Hendricks, and Marion, greater Indianapolis, greater. So that's it. We're done. I'm not going to call Nathan Nick again so we can get out of this thing here. But Nathan, it's been a pleasure having you on here. We had a lot of viewers tonight. A lot of people, when the comments are not a lot, that means they're listening. When it gets a little slow, there's a lot of comments. So it's been a good show.
And they turn on each other.
Yeah, the rabid comments. It's what we come for, the comments. So we appreciate it.
I appreciate it too. This is probably the most I've done, probably like 25 either like interviews or something along those lines at this point. This is probably the most if you, it would even be more if you include meetings. This is the most tough questions I've ever been asked. In fact, there's been more tough questions in this than in every other thing combined. So
yeah, we don't even have Brad here either. It really gets interesting when he gets here.
And
but
Nathan, you did a good job.
You did a great job.
I appreciate the questions.
You and your brother are both well. You guys are good young men. I'm going to say that.
I appreciate it.
So, all right, everybody.
Stay on with us. We're going in the green room.
Oh yeah,
so
day after. Look at Woody. He's going to do the Irish goodbye.
Oh
Yeah, hang up. And I'm so disappointed there was no conspiracy theory today.
I'm sorry, but it's an hour show, Lucy. We got an hour show here. I'm just let me get to the end of this thing. I'm going to do the fast one too. So this is going to be really hard for me to get everybody out there.
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year! We'll see you next year. I think we got Ashley Grog next week. So over and out.